You're welcome. Let's get to the details now. Peace talks are underway in the northern region town of Bimbilla as part of measures to end once and for all the age-old conflict which continues to claim lives and threaten the stability of that part of the country. We can go over to Bimbilla now and speak to Director for the Yendi Peace Center, which actually initiated these peace talks. Reverend Father Michael Cobb is the director for that peace center. Hello, sir. Thank you very much for your time here on The Pulse.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
And everyone listening.
All right. We understand that you've initiated this peace process, this peace talk, as part of measures to end what we've seen to be a very unfortunate incident, or what has caused lots of unfortunate incidences in the northern region, especially in Bimbilla. How is it going so far?
Yeah, it's going on very well. The attendance has been very good. We, in the morning, met with the religious leaders, Islamic religious leaders, to speak to them, to use their prophetic voice, their role as religious leaders, to appeal to their congregants of all those who come to worship with them, to give peace a chance. And currently, we are about meeting with the assemblymen, opinion leaders of Bimbilla. The assemblymen of Bimbilla. That's what we are just about to start.
Well, you speak about the attendance being very encouraging. Who have you got now?
So in the morning, we met all religious leaders, imams of the various, imams of Bimbilla, that is the religious Islamic leaders across board. So we have representatives of all the sessions where people are led in prayer, or the Islamic leaders that lead the various sessions. They were present. And those who could not come, their representatives were there. And currently we are about meeting the various assemblymen of Bimbilla Township. And also the police commander, the police commander himself is present, so that he could also give his output, his input to it, and the Catholic Bishop of Yendi.
Okay, so we understand that there are various factions. If we're talking about this chieftaincy dispute, we're looking at about 4 factions. Is that correct? And if it is, have you got representatives from all of these factions that we're talking about?
Okay, maybe the various assemblymen could belong to the various factions, but we are not actually inviting factions. We are looking at people who are leaders in one way or the other. We're talking about religious leaders. Religious leaders lead people irrespective of their leanings. Those are the ones we are very much concerned about. At present, we are not talking about fashion.
Okay. What are some of the issues that you've been talking about in the discussion? What are some of the issues that have come up?
The issues that have come up is that the hearts are actually hardened as of now. Needless to say is the fact that the conflict has led to the various factions having taken sides. And that has not only remained, but that the hearts are actually, at present, is very much hardened. And we are thinking that the religious leaders, since many people come to respect religious leaders, and when religious leaders speak, people have the tendency to listen to them, and the heart can open up to them. That has informed us to start by them. And also the assemblymen, their opinion leaders, they galvanize their people to do a lot of interventions. But quite unfortunately, some of these assemblymen or opinion leaders could be doing it in the wrong way. So we are trying to bring them on board to really look at how they can mobilize their people as far as positive interventions are concerned.
So have you invited anyway the Regional House of Chiefs, because we understand that there is an outstanding case, surrounding this. There's an outstanding case that is with the Supreme Court, but that there was a ruling by the National House of Chiefs on this matter. Are you putting all of these sides of the matter on the table in the course of your discussion?
Yes, peace intervention is a process. It's not an event. So it's a process. We are currently having, as at present, what I've just told you about, and it's a gradual process. With time, we will climb up to what you are talking about in reference to the Regional House of Chiefs and other stakeholders. But I'm aware that other stakeholders are also involved in the process. The Northern Regional Peace Council and the National Peace Council are all interested. So as at present now, we are thinking about those on the ground, what we could be using them other than the external actors.
Okay. Now we're looking at a situation where you say the hearts of these people are hardened. What is the expectation of the Peace Center, the Yendi Peace Center, at the end of this process? What do you expect to happen?
What we expect is to happen is that at least, as much as possible, retaliation, vengeance, vindictiveness should begin to reduce and violence minimized, even if not curtailed.
Okay.
That is what we expect to see. Because the situation as it is now, and fear and panic reduced. We want to let people know that all is not about negative, all is not negative in Bimbilla as at now. People could still come to the peace pipe, and the possibility still exists.
And are you seeing signs of that being as a possibility? Is that a possibility from where you are now in the peace process? Are you seeing that as a possibility?
Yeah, that is possible. That is possible. Once we are humans and we open up ourselves and are ready to listen, and structures that are supposed to address our grievances are open up to making sure that people have way of seeking redress and channels are well followed. I am confident that we could get to a positive end.
Okay, so when is the meeting ending, or has it ended already?
No, it's expected to end maybe in the next 40 minutes time. It should end.
In the next 40 minutes, will we have a different update from what you've given us, so we will probably come back to you, or is it something?
Yeah, that could be possible. That
Okay.
could be possible.
All right. We'll say a very big thanks to you, sir. I've been speaking with Director for the Yendi Peace Center, Reverend Father Michael Cobb. Reverend Father Michael Cobb is the director, and that Peace Center, they've initiated a peace process or a peace talks within Bimbilla and among the factions in that chieftaincy disputes, which continues to claim lives and threaten stability of that part of the country. All right, let's move on with some other stories now. The Media Foundation for West Africa has called for the passage of the broadcasting bill into an act to prevent the media landscape from deteriorating. Results from a nationwide series of meetings held by the eminent media persons group of the Media Foundation for West Africa with radio station owners revealed that urgent reforms are needed to resolve several challenges facing industry players. So these include low professional standards, rising spate of ethical violations and poor remuneration, as well as delays in payment for journalists. Former Executive Director of the Foundation, Professor Kwame Kekeri, said the passing of the broadcasting bill should be a priority of the Akufo-Addo-led administration.
Without a broadcasting law in this country, many of the things we have raised here may never be resolved for the industry. And who must do that? There has been a coalition of civil society organizations, even including previously some MPs. And a proposal for a bill was drafted many years ago. The bill itself has been with, I suspect, Parliament or the Attorney General's office or the office of the President, I don't know where, but there is a bill. In my view, not the Media Foundation's view, in my view, that bill is old. Many things have happened since that bill was drafted, for instance, digital migration and so on. So I think that that bill needs to be reviewed, to be updated, and then presented to Parliament. And I believe very strongly, and I think on this point, the eminent persons collectively believe very strongly that the Akufo-Addo government must pass the broadcasting law within the 4-year period that they are serving now.
We'll get some more details on the broadcast bill that they are expecting to be passed, that they're expecting the President Akufo-Addo to spearhead. Very soon I'll have the Executive Director in the studio, or Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa in the studio. This is The Pulse. I'll take a very quick break. I'll be right back. Please don't go away. You're welcome back. Suleiman Ibrahima is Executive Director of the Media Foundation for West Africa. He joins me in the studio now. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
How's everything? I hope everything is
Quite
fine.
well. We are managing.
Oh, managing. They say Ghanaians are good managers, so I believe you're doing pretty well.
Well, we try.
Let's get back to the issues you raised this afternoon about the broadcasting bill. Do we know the current state of the broadcasting bill? Do we know what's it?
Well, I think it gathered momentum sometime 2014, 2015.
Okay.
But that was, I should say, the end of it when people deliberated on the bill as it was and raised concerns about certain provisions of it. As in every bill, the idea was to get it to cabinet, to get it approved,
Yeah.
and then to parliament. But as we speak, that hasn't happened. And that is why I think there are numerous calls that the broadcast industry cannot continue to be unregulated, and for us to continue to whine about the challenges in the industry. And therefore, the right thing to do is to have a framework that will regulate the industry so that we can all begin to see how we push for a more stronger, vibrant, and sustainable broadcast sector.
Why do you think the process has stalled?
Well, I think people have pointed to competing interest because there are quite a number of things that perhaps happen now that if you were to have a broadcast law that is working and observed or respected, those things wouldn't happen. And many of these things that are happening that would have infringed on the broadcast law also relates to the commercial interest of some of the media organizations. So, of course, to have it going, you also need the buy-in of all stakeholders, including the Gibbers, which is an association of owners, and all the actors and players in the field. And I think, and many have also pointed to the fact that, well, there were competing interests. But again, there have been legitimate issues raised about certain provisions of the draft that existed. For example, powers, to the executive to decide who can broadcast during emergency period was something that people thought could be abused by the executive. Apart from that, we need to recognize that the draft was put together at a time when, for example, digital migration was not in place. Again, we are in an environment where there is so much concern about the proliferation of social media, how pervasive it has become, and the implications for media professionalism, for trust for mainstream media, and so on and so forth. And how do we regulate broadcast over internet, for example? These are issues that are not captured in the draft bill, and I think going forward, we need to have a second look at it and to review and make sure that all these new developments are catered for in such a law.
Who are you targeting? Who is this press conference targeting exactly?
Well, the press conference, as you may have known, raised a number of issues beyond the broadcasting bill. In fact, it contained a 10-point recommendation. The passage of the broadcasting bill was one of them. But specifically on the broadcasting bill, I think it requires that all stakeholders come together. So we're talking about GIBA, we're talking about the NCA, we're talking about the ministry, we're talking about the NMC, and of course civil society would always have a role to play in matters like this. So it will require consensus building, working together, and pushing together to get it passed by Parliament.
Because often what I push for will be a personal or face-to-face contact with those people who you are targeting. I mean, the key people that you're targeting, so that it can be pushed further. So if you're looking at Parliament, then I was going to find out from Media Foundation for West Africa whether you've engaged Parliament on this.
Well, as you know, our Parliament is quite fresh, quite new. I believe that if they are even done with the constitution of their various committees, it would have been done not too long ago. So it is good to raise these issues and to bring them up so that if you want to now begin to engage Parliament as and when the committees are fully constituted, you would know who to engage, and the issues would have been raised in the first place, rather than engage them and try to highlight the issues to them. I think it's important that we bring the issues up to be in the public domain for people to debate them. So when you are engaging the relevant committees in Parliament, people would know that, well, this is already in the public domain and we need to take it up and see how we go forward with that.
So now you're done with the press conference. What next?
Well, as I mentioned, the press conference pointed to a number of recommendations. The broadcasting bill is one. There was also a recommendation about the need to have a content standards policy for media organizations, particularly those in the broadcast sector. Apart from that, capacity building is a major issue, both for managerial and editorial staff. Beyond that, there were also issues about the need to prioritize support for media organizations that are in very deprived communities or deprived areas, because those in the metropolis and the bigger ones continue to play a dominant role, whereas you have these smaller ones in various districts and municipalities that are serving the communities there. Apart from that, there are other pieces of recommendations that have been put out there as things that we need to do to improve the media industry. And
are all these supposed to be catered for by the broadcasting bill? Not necessarily.
To some extent, yes, but I mean, the broadcasting bill would not be able to, for example, say the bill itself would build capacity for journalists or management staff.
But it will provide avenues through which maybe media owners, etc., government, the GJA, etc., can help with media development of media personnel.
No, definitely. I think that it will prescribe certain standards, and to meet those standards would require that you train your staff and then you bring them up to speed to what the law requires. And of course, there's also the big issue about remuneration for media workers and journalists, which I think has to be addressed.
Okay. We'll say big thanks to you for passing through. Suleiman Ibrahima is Executive Director for the Media Foundation for West Africa, and they've been doing a very good job monitoring the media landscape, ensuring that there's sanity, especially political sanity. Thank you very much for coming once again.
Thank you.
Well, let's move on with some of the stories. Now, documentaries is intercepted by Joy News reveal how the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission spent over 120,000 cedis on 350 hampers for the office of the President, as well as parliamentarians, in clear violation of the Financial Administrative Regulation. An amount of 25,000 cedis was also spent on end-of-year media activities and protocol for 30 journalists. In a series of Joy News exposés, investigative journalist Kwete Nate reports how suspicious receipts were issued for items bought for the hampers in the following report.
In an internal memo sent to the Executive Secretary Samuel Sapon, dated 10th December 2012, Director of PR and External Affairs Nanaya Jantua requested an amount of 99,663 cedis, which was to be spent on 300 hampers. But the Public Relations Officer overshot its budget for the purchase of those hampers. Documents cited by Joy News, dated 21st of November 2013, reveal the Commission spent over 28,000 more on the hampers. The statement reads,
I would be grateful if an amount of 28,273 cedis is refunded to me. This represents expenses made for the 2012 hampers in excess of the budget.
In that memo sent to the Executive Secretary by Ms. Jantua, the additional money was to enable the PR unit to meet unexpected needs of commissioners, new parliamentarians, and the office of the President. But these items were bought from a non-VAT registered entity in violation of the Financial Administrative Regulation. In a response to the observations by the external auditors, the PRC said not all the items that were contained in the hampers could be supplied by VAT-registered entities. The statement reads,
for instance, the kente cloth could not be purchased from a VAT-registered shop. The specific drinks in question, purchased from Misuna Enterprise, enabled the Commission take advantage of their drastically low prices compared to high prices in VAT-registered shops.
The specific drinks in question, purchased from Misuna Enterprise, enabled the Commission take advantage of their drastically low prices compared to high prices in VAT-registered shops. An amount of 25,000 cedis was also spent on end-of-year media activities and protocol for 30 journalists from state and private media organizations. Some staff, however, wants the matter investigated thoroughly.
The Hampers issue, I think, happened when, the former President Mills even mentioned that we should stop Hampers. But yet PURC did that, and an amount of almost 100,000 was used on Hampers. There are a lot of issues that are surrounding it, and like I said, we have to call for an investigation into that.
One thing is clear. The financial laws have been breached, but sanctions are yet to be applied.
All right, so Kwete Nate put together that report. He's on the telephone line with me now. Hello, Kwete.
Hello, Gipsy.
Kwete, we know that you were invited by one of the persons involved in this case. What's the update? What did they tell you on the back of this?
Gipsy, so this morning I met the Executive Secretary of the PURC, Mr. Samuel Sapo, and his point was that the money in question was paid into his personal account based on the advice from the former head of finance at the PURC. He said there was an emergency situation, and given the circumstances around the event, the head of finance then suggested that the money should be paid into his personal account at the agency so that they will be able to cast it for the public hearing. So as it stands now, whatever he did was based on the advice given to him by the head of finance. And when the head of finance then was making the suggestion, his head of PR, Nanaya, questioned why such a move should be done. But the head of finance said he was comfortable paying the money into the executive secretary's account.
Did he give you any further information? Are they ready to speak on record about these issues that have been raised against the PURC?
Okay, he said a committee is investigating the matter. So after the committee releases its report, he would come and respond to the issue.
Okay. Well, we'll say a very big thanks to you. Kwete Nate is our investigative journalist here who puts together that report on the PURC. It's actually a series that we're running. We'll bring you some more on that particular story as the days go by. It's all here on The Pulse.